Hello, friends, and welcome to the latest edition of Mark and Mike's Problem Corner, the show where we try and tackle an Ipswich Town themed problem. And today it's not so much a problem, more of a question, Mike. And that's really, how do Town approach these last 5 games? There's 5 games to go. Town are, you'd have to say, realistically out of the playoff picture. Clearly, if they win all 5 games, there's an outside chance. It's mathematically still possible. But how do we feel they should approach them? And then the big question is whether or not they should start playing some players we've not really seen too much of yet, the youthful players, shall we say, Mike? So first of all, can we start with an acceptance that Town's season is probably realistically, not mathematically, but realistically over at this point?
No, we can't. No. Actually, we can. I must confess, the Cambridge result was obviously the very final, almost the very final. Let's put it this way: it's hanging by the thinnest. Playoffs are hanging by the thinnest of thinnest threads you could possibly get. The fat lady is all ready to go. So yeah, sadly, it looks that way, doesn't it? And results last night, I see, didn't go Ipswich Town's way. Teams around keep winning, and I mean, this has been. It's been continuous. I mean, this continuous bang, bang, bang by the top teams, the top 6 and 7, 8. They just keep winning. So yeah, Mark. Mr. Half Glass Full has to accept that's it for the season.
Okay, so
Mr. Next year.
Mr. Optimistic Mike Bacon says season is done with 5 games to go, and I think most people would agree with you. In that case, then, Mike, how do Town approach these last 5 games? Because clearly at the moment they're 9th in the league, their spiritual home of League One, and you could go down the right. Well, we'll play the strongest team and we'll try and win the last 5 games and see where that leaves us. Or do we start to think, right, we've got summer ahead? There's some players on the fringes, the young players that we're going to talk about maybe who we've not seen too much of. Is now the time to kind of give them a chance and see what they can do ahead of a summer of trying to impress Kieran McKenna? How would you approach that? Clearly, we're not going to suddenly see, young players starting. I wouldn't imagine in the last 5 games, but there's certainly an argument, isn't there, that there's some players we could maybe see over the last 5.
I think Kieran McKenna wants to use these last 5 games to continue what he's built. I mean, again, he hasn't been here all season, so this is not like he's had a whole season to get to this point. He's only had half a season, and he's done a tremendous amount of good. He will want to keep that good going. He's not going to rip it up and just say, right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to start. I think we'll play 5 at the back. We'll play 4, whatever. He's not going to start messing around too much. I don't think. I think the core of much of what, and I don't see much wrong with that. Our defence has been outstanding since McKenna has been here. Why would you want to mess that up? You don't want to finish the season on a little bit of a dip. You don't want to start going to Rotherham and losing 4-0 or lose 3-0 at home to Wigan because you're chopping and change for the sake of it. I don't think he'll chop and change for the sake of it. In fact, I think he'll keep quite a lot of the team he's playing at the moment to get the front 3 or 4. He could probably continue to fiddle with a little bit. But you're talking about young players, aren't you? I mean, let's talk about do we blood young players? Of course we do at this time of the season. Once it's over, of course we do. It's happened for years. I can go back many, many years and watched Ipswich Town young players suddenly, they're not thrown in at the deep end. They're just put into a team at the last throws of the season where the pressure is off. There's nothing on it. Doesn't matter if they win or lose. And I suppose that takes you onto the fact that Ipswich are still remotely in the playoff territory, but I really don't think they are. So I would certainly like to see, and I think we will see, some young players blooded, most definitely. In fact, I'd be slightly disappointed if we didn't, to be honest.
Let's throw some names around there. I think the most obvious one, and probably the one you could justify the easiest, given Town's travails and struggles up front in terms of strikers scoring goals, is a young man by the name of Tyreece Simpson, who's a name who's been on everyone's lips for most of the season. Clearly, he kind of came from nowhere, went to Swindon in League Two, performed really well in that first half of the season, scoring 11 goals, looked tremendous, and then was recalled out of the blue. Some kind of contractual issue, which it sounds like is still going on between him, his agent, and the club. So you've got a player who's thrived on loan in League Two, and now suddenly has not really played for half a season. He's been playing in under 23 football, but we all know that's not real proper men's football. So surely, Mike, of all the names we're going to talk about, Tyreece Simpson is the one that has got the biggest argument, and it's probably the one that most people would want to see over the last 5 games.
Well, most definitely. I mean, he's got you actually used a very important phrase of the big argument, but that big argument being that we're not scoring, our strikers aren't scoring goals. So there we have a striker who, yeah, he has got to be involved in these last 5 games. Whether he'll start, you've still got Rotherham away, you've still got Wigan at home. These are difficult. You don't just. I'm not a great believer in just chucking kids in for the sake of it. And these are big, tough teams you're up against. I mean, Tyreece is a big, strong lad himself, but I think just to chuck him in the deep end, start, mate, I probably would. Certainly, however, he's got to be on the bench minimum, and certainly Ipswich Town fans have got to see him on that Portman Road pitch before the end of the season. How many games are there left at Portman Road? Is there 2? I think, I don't know, but with season tickets, up for grabs at the moment, fans love it. Fans love a local. They love a local player come through the academy or a young player coming through. Tyreece, I would say, has got the best shout because he's been playing League 2 football. It's not as if he's just been always just playing under 23s. He's playing the Forest Greens of this world. He's playing against the Exeters of this world, or he has done. They'll be playing Town next year if they go up. So he's already playing these teams. Simpson, he's got to. I would suggest he only comes on as a sub. Maybe he might. But certainly, definitely.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to realistically see any of these players suddenly start out of the blue, are they? But it's more kind of putting on the bench and getting some time and seeing what they can do at third tier League One football level. Any other names that spring out to you, Mike? I've got a few written down here. Cameron Humphreys is a very talented young midfielder who obviously was involved in the first team picture over last summer. We know Kieran Dyer, since departed as under-23 coach, is a huge fan of Cameron Humphreys. And then we've got the likes of Elkan Bagat, the big centre half with more social media followers than the entire club. He's a big deal, literally. Tawanda Chira, who's a guy, attacking midfielder in the under-23s, who's been scoring goals for fun, as they say. And also maybe a bit of left field, young man who before the season was seen as very much as one for the future, went off to Colchester United on loan, where we was expecting that he was going to have a great season ripping up League 2, and hasn't really played, and is now playing back for the under-23s off the bench yesterday, Armando Dobra. So of those, are there any that particularly stand out for you you'd like to see play? Any of them? None of them?
I mean, Baggett was in the squad, wasn't he, last week? So it's interesting that he's been identified. You don't get put in the first team squad for no reason. That's interesting. McKenna's obviously thought, he wants to. I want him in and around the first team squad. It's a funny one with Baggett because it's the formation Ipswich are playing at the moment with with Danassian, Wolfenden, and it's Burgess at the moment. Burgess at the moment. Would he suddenly replace one of them? Bit straight, bit of a tough one to call, actually. The way the system Ipswich play, defence is not really their big problem. But again, put him on the bench, bring him on with 20 minutes to go. He's a good, strong player. I mean, his social media following requires him to play, obviously, as well, Heathy. I mean, that's absolutely vital. No, of course. But no, yes, I'd like to see him play very much so. Humphreys, I've seen Humphreys play in the under-23s. He is a good player. Again, someone you'd love just to see on the pitch for 20 minutes at the end of a match, 15. Are you going to chuck him in? Probably not. But yes, definitely like to see him start as well. Mr. Dobra is a real strange one, isn't he? I mean, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he can. I'm not sure if he can play for Ipswich Town first team. I believe he can play for the under-23s.
There must be. I mean, obviously, he was on the bench, wasn't he, for the under-23s yesterday? He came on, and he has been playing for Colchester under-23s, which is utterly bizarre. But there must be a way. Clearly, he's not going to play for Colchester by the look of it for the rest of the season. He's not played, I think, since January for Colchester in their kind of first team. So there must be an argument just for the Town to say, look, you're not going to play Dobra. We'll have him back then, and we'll see what he can do in a couple of halves of football maybe before the season's over. Because Dobra, not too long ago, was very much this kid is going to be one of the stars of the future sort of thing, and it's really gone quiet on that front with what's been a terrible loan for him, Mike. So I know you're a fan of Dobra. Would you see the argument for bringing him back and seeing what he's got?
I'd love to see him back. I mean, I think it's great. I just don't know what all the politics is over on season loans, and if he's got to be there for the season, he's got to stay there, whatever. I think Colchester are pretty safe now. They had a bit of a rocky time in League 2, but they've had a good little run recently, so they look like they're safe. And he hasn't been playing, as you say. Get him back here. Get him back to Portman Road, and get. I mean, he's been playing first team football. There's not a guy who hasn't appeared in the first team. He's played for it. He went out on loan, obviously, to get experience and play regularly. And he hasn't done either particularly. It hasn't been a great loan for him. Get him back here. Ipswich love wingers. He's got Wes Burns ahead of him. He's got Wes Burns who can help him and teach him and give him a few tips on bits and bobs. Yeah, I'd love to see it. Dobra's fans love Dobra. Then why not? He's feisty. He gets stuck in. He takes people on. He's got a bit about him. Some ways I was pleased he went out Colchester because I hoped that's what you need to do as a young player. You want to play every week, but he hasn't played every week, and in fact, far from it. So get him back at Portman Road, and yeah, why not? Give him a half. Give him a half. Why not? I'd love to see that. I think that'd be great.
Okay, then. Any other names you want to throw into the mix, Mike, before we wrap this up?
Well, no, not really. I mean, no, I think you're not suddenly going to just start chucking in half a dozen of the under-23s all at once. One or two might be on the bench who just it's nice to be in and around the first team, young players. That's the thing. That it's nice to warm up with the first team. It's nice to be in the changing rooms with the first team. That sort of experience is great. I think, but you only want to be picking on 4 or 5. You don't suddenly want half a dozen, 8 under 23s suddenly being involved in the last 3 or 4 games, and that's not going to happen. But the names we've mentioned, why not? And why maybe 1 or 2 others on the outside. But overall, yeah, I mean, it's get them on the pitch, right? Get them on the pitch. The fans love it. Okay, Ipswich Town fans, they love their locals players. Season ticket time, folks. You bring a young player on, he scores the winner in the last minute at Portman Road, and the fans all walk away. Wow, that Tyreece Simpson or that Cameron Humphreys, or, what a great one come. There's nobody playing under 23s in front of one man and his dog. Get them out on Portman Road pitches. And let's see, even if it's only just 10 minutes, and let excite the fans. Fans love young players coming through. There's nothing excites them more.
Okay, so Mike and Mark's problem corner, problem solved. Time to stop playing some of the youngsters in the last 5 games. Give us a name then, Mike. Of all the people we've talked about in these last 5 games, who do you most want to see get some time on the pitch?
Do you know what I want to see most? Cameron Humphreys.
Really? Okay. Why is that?
I saw him playing the under-23s. I thought he was a very, very good player, and I think. I just think as an athlete, I just think he's got a bit about him, and I think fans would like to see him. And I don't think many fans probably see much of him. I think they might pretty well know what Tyreece is all about, and but I don't think they know much about Cameron Humphreys. I think they'll be quietly surprised.
Okay, there you go.
Excitingly surprised.
Absolutely, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? So let's hope we see some of these players. Let's hope we see Cameron Humphreys and Tyreece Simpson. Mike's certainly most interested in seeing Cameron. That's another Mark and Mike's problem corner for this week, and we'll see you next time when there's another problem to be solved. Thanks for watching.